It's the True Penny Show with your host, James True Penny.
Hello, and welcome to the True Penny Show. My name's James True Penny, and this is my show. Today, we are looking at the second part of our life and times of Megumi Kudo, the Queen of Hardcore. A legend in her own lifetime, and a woman who had some incredible professional wrestling matches in a very short period of time. And today, we're going to look at the second half of her career. And not even really the second half, from 1994 to 1997. 3 years where she packed in more hot matches and more hot feuds than any wrestler has done before. And to join me on this journey, short though it may be, but intense it will be, is Mr. Marcus Green of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. How are we doing, sir?
Good. Always glad to be back. You know, we had to do a part two. This is how much of a legend Miss Kudo is, and yeah, the first part was kind of sweet and savory, if you will, with this meal, and the next part is a little bit harder to digest, but by no means any less fulfilling. If I had to say that, yeah, this is when it gets brutal, but it's still, like I said, still respect. Like you said, the quality in such a short amount of time is beyond impressive. But really the entire career. We talk about in the first part, just for her to go to FMW when elsewhere it was kind of stacked.
Yeah.
And go to FMW and kind of really blaze her own trail with an incredible roster, with rivals and people that would obviously learn from her. And like you said, with that short 3-4 year period is just really incredible.
Yes, absolutely is. Our first match kind of spells out what Marcus was saying. Shark Tashia had joined and eventually become leader of Mad Dog Military, the heel group in FMW. And our first match on our playlist is the first match between Megumi Kudo and Shark Tashia in a singles setting. It is a no-rope barbed wire match. The first one, I believe, the women had in FMW, or certainly one of the earliest ones that they had in FMW. Tashia had made her name working up the card. She'd wrestled Chigaso Nagayo at one of the anniversary shows in a street fight, where essentially she just stabbed Nagayo until she gave up. She'd built a reputation for being stiff and brutal, and this environment was kind of built for her in the sense of power obviously is going to win out when you've got no ropes and you've only got barbed wire to land on. But the women had this advantage that the men didn't have. They had a library of these style of matches from the previous 3 or 4 years between Atsushi Onita and Terry Funk and Tazan Goto, and let's face it, those 3 guys who are well worth learning from, and Mr. Pogo. And they understood drama much, much better, I think, than the men did. They also had a lot more to play with in the ring because of Kudo's storytelling ability and her in-ring quality. Tashia is not a classical stylist when it comes to mat work. She'd rather hit you really hard and stab you. So this was kind of like her wheelhouse as far as the match was concerned. But the senior wrestler in Kudo knew what she was doing and controlled the match. At ringside, we had burnished Nakamura and Madiori, Crusher Madiori, helping out with Tashia. Not like she needed the help. And this is a kind of a classic babyface tale, but it showed you how to use the barbed wire in a way that I think gets lost on a modern deathmatch kind of style, in the sense of they're both trying to avoid it like the plague. And that tension of trying to keep away from the barbed wire for as long as humanly possible creates so much tension in this match that when it finally does happen, the whole crowd just go, oh, because they're waiting for it to happen. And it's going to happen eventually. It has to, right? Irresistible force in the immovable object. And that this kind of baby steps and how to do barbed wire matches is the blueprint for what's going to come in the next couple of years for Kudo. And this match is probably the most violent of all of them, to be honest with you. But it's all the little bits you watch Kudo do, like when she just stumbles close to the barbed wire, and then eventually she's whipped into the barbed wire. I'd also bear in mind, they're wearing wrestling gear. They're not wearing jeans and t-shirts. They're in singlets. That may have not been a sensible choice. But what's your thoughts on this one, Marcus? Because this is exceptionally violent but also I think exceptionally dramatic as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and obviously we, here at the Finish Show, absolutely champion, not only just Yoshi, but women's wrestling, period. But, to your point and talk about why it was different, obviously, you have to acknowledge there is a different pain threshold, uh,
Mm,
to a point, with the women, but they, still, every bit as entertaining with these matches as the men. Probably more so, like you said, because of the heightened dramaticism that comes along with that. But, as you were talking, I was thinking about, like, just as a normal wrestler without any of the hardcore theatrics that comes along with the ball for a wild match, like all wild match, I should say. Like as a wrestler, you've already taught your body to go the opposite direction of everything it naturally does.
yeah.
So when you get in something like this, like I'm watching Kudo and she has such a, and I'm sure we talked about it around about way in a lot of ways, but she has a very high wrestling IQ.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm watching her and this is her first year wearing this, and you're watching her have to kind of like remember, like, 'cause when you're in a normal wrestling match, an Irish whip or bouncing off the rope is second nature at that point.
Hmm.
But you can't really do any of that. Like you're constantly having to think about like, oh, I can't do really any of the normal stuff, so I got to run a little bit and stop, or get whipped and slide, or just really not do any of those things. And it was interesting watching her try to. She had to learn on the spot while almost getting killed
Yes.
in a way. And again, to your point, that heightened the dramatics of it because you're watching this person really have to really learn this match kind of one on one type of deal outside of, like you said, the footage that the litany of footage that they had. But yeah, Shark was not making it easy by any means. I mean, like I said, one of the hardest things besides the side of the ring, as we know, is a Japanese table.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
that came into play and very much had its moment on top of everything else with the spirit of a cactus jack kind of coming over Kudo in certain instances. Yeah, this like you said, this was probably the most brutal of the match, but by no means less entertaining. Probably because it was her introduction to this whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, also, like, Koshin Manomori just hurtling a fully, like, set up table into the ring is quite a
Yeah,
sight to see.
yeah,
She was an incredibly strong woman and just hurtles this table into the ring. At this particular point, Makudo is, like, bleeding a lot from her arm, which has just been sliced open by a kendo stick wrapped in barbed wire, and then she's powerbombed through a table. Well, actually, no. Yeah, so we're watching it as we go. She misses the table because Kudo kicks it out of the way, which I think was a
yeah.
happy accident, but added more drama. It's like she's still breathing. But yes, this is the era of when the Japanese tables got their reputation from, not breaking. Obviously,
Yeah.
Matthew from Botchamania is the guy that what's the word? Popularized the thought
Right.
that Japanese tables were non-existent. I made a video edit and sent it to Matthew this week, and he liked it. That's my accomplishment for this week.
Nice.
On Blue Sky. You don't do Blue Sky, but he was joking about the fact that the Hurt Business, or is it the Hurt Syndicate in AEW? I can't remember.
Yeah.
MVP and his crew were doing kind of like a snatch tribute. So I put the words to the Bricktop speech about Nemesis over the top of an MVP promo, and it worked kind of. Just Matthew liked it anyway. But anywho, our Geordie friend aside, this is the point where like tables don't break on the first power bomb. 2 or 3 power bombs and the table might go. So it's going to be a rough ride because they didn't gimmick them or anything. That would have been sensible.
Huh, exactly.
No. If you can hit a table, you're going to hit a table, a steel enforced table, and it is a bit of a ridiculous match, and there's some ridiculous bumps in it, which aren't Kudo's idea either. So you can see this rivalry, in a story sense, is building up, and this is kind of like the first chapter of it. Kudo gets a comeback in and eventually takes a pinfall victory at the end of this match. But it's brutal. To get there is just absolute madness. Especially when the scythe starts coming out, which I forgot about that. The scythe is a bit comedic, and it's a bit not my particular cup of tea because it's been really serious business up until this point, and obviously she's not going to stab the baby face of the company with a giant sickle because that's just not going to work. But it kind of like adds more to her character. She got the sickle from Mr. Pogo, who was her mentor in FMW. In fact, to be honest, if they were short a guy, she'd be on Mr. Pogo's team. It's like a couple of barbed wire. There's a couple of barbed wire 6-man or a couple of 6-man street fights where Shark just stood in for the heels because they'd run out of guys. So I'm like, you're big, you'll do. Come here. So yeah, but it was kind of like it's that one. That bit's a little bit out of the wheelhouse. Kind of takes you out of it a little bit, but the actual match itself is really well worth watching for like the baby steps of how this kind of style of wrestling is going to work because they're doing something they've not done before. For women, they had for men, and they had the advantage of that. But yeah, have you any other thoughts on this match?
I think I had an appreciation for that moment because it like I said, it continued telling the story of the table, even though it had actually broke by then.
Yeah,
She had, because like at that point, it's like thank God for these extremely thick tables because that stickle might have went through. If like you said, if it was overly gimmicked, might have been no point. But again thinking on her feet at this point, she got a crimson mask in the match.
Yeah,
practically crimson mask, and we know what that does to you, in terms of your vision, but it gets that adrenaline going. So you do completely in survival mode at that point. That's what she was in. But I think I appreciated that element a little bit more. But by then, I was just kind of fully invested because obviously one person is trying to almost decapitate the other person while this Kudo is trying to survive and obviously overcome, which is really the whole story. Second, of this second part to me, just how tough, how high her ring IQ is, her sheer level of toughness, and the fact that she had to have one of, if not the coldest women's finishes at that time.
Oh yeah,
because
a
to go through all
vertebrae
that,
is absolutely insane.
To go through all that in those matches and to just get a sheer drop on your head, neck, and shoulders is just
Yeah, it's just she had that finish down cold, and it's just so well done. Of course, Kudo gets a comeback, and it's vicious.
Yeah.
She's taking some liberties, to be honest with you. But at this point, I don't think she cares. She's getting the licks in. So, yeah. And it sets the story up for the pair of them, and they will become eternal rivals for the rest of Kudo's career, to be honest with you. Shall we move on to the next one, sir?
Let's do it.
So next up is thankfully, if you're watching this playlist, not a deathmatch. We put some light relief in there. The fact the light relief happens to be Combat Toyoda, Bison Kimura, and Aja Kong will tell you how violent the rest of this playlist is. Bison Kimura come out of retirement to join JD Star with Jaguar Yokota. And obviously we watched the Aja Kong Megumi Kudo match on the previous playlist. So this match in FMW was kind of a favor to JD Star, and kind of finishing a story with AJW with a happy ending. And basically, Megumi Kudo and Combat Toyoda, Megumi Kudo's ways had basically turned Combat Toyoda babyface because they buried the hatchet as heels and baby faces, so that because of Toyoda tagging with Kudo, and she'd seen the error of her ways, and as a result of that, they'd become regular tag team partners at the top of the card. And this one is just kind of four friends having a match for the sake of four friends having a match. So rather than do the usual thing, Aja Kong, whose longtime Jungle Jack sister was Bison Kimura, tagged with Megumi Kudo, and Combat Toyoda tagged with Bison Kimura to make things a bit different. Because, you could always save like the dream tag package of Jungle Jack versus FMW's Hardcore Queens for another time, should you so wish. But the likelihood is, with Combat Toyoda retiring this year and Megumi Kudo retiring the year after, that probably never would have happened. So let's have some fun in the meantime. But they all take this so seriously. It's just like, no, we ain't mucking about. We came here to have a wrestling match, and we cannot possibly not have a wrestling match. It would play down our legacy, and we can't possibly do that. We have to beat the crap out of each other because we're friends, obviously.
Yeah.
What did you think of this one?
Well, first off, I appreciate you buffering the barbed wire in between with these tag matches, but like you said, they're by no means a day off for anybody involved. Uh, like I said, some of the great compliments I can give all these tag matches is that a lot of times if I don't, know already ahead of time that a title's not involved, I think this was like the finals of a tag tournament, the way they go at each other. So,
Mm.
uh, but it did create an interesting thread. I think we talked about it in our part one when Kudo is tagging with individuals being on the same team, having the same goal, but going two different directions to get there.
Yeah.
I think it seemed like a common thread, even with the conquering hero of Aja Khan. Yeah, it very much it always kind of came off the kind set of like a theme, like always seemed like her opponent, her tag opponents had just a little bit more chemistry than her and her tag partner. Like I said, similar, almost the same goal, but taking two routes to get there, having each other back, and it absolutely counted, mostly for these near falls. But other than that, kind of seemed like it was working on their own on the same team. So, but like you said, by no means taking a day off because yeah, this was everything except the ball. Well, honestly, a lot of these tag matches.
Yeah. This is the thing. It's like it's a friendly match. This
Yeah,
is pretty serious, but equally they're not holding back on one another because they would not be they would be doing a disservice to Jaguar Yukio to retrain them, wouldn't they? We can't let down Jaguar, especially as Bison Komoroska worked with her.
yeah,
But it is an interesting match from that point of view. It's obviously a dream match. It was high up on the card, and it's interesting because they're all baby faces. But out of all of them, they all still wrestle like heels except Megumi Kudo. Everyone else is like, Megumi's a babyface and is always a babyface, but she's a pretty violent babyface at this particular point. Whereas the other three have been lifelong heels and haven't really changed anything. It's just that they've got popular.
yeah,
And I think that's an interesting thing. Is like, it's all to do with the subtlety, right? It's Kudo is Tanahashi over here in FMW. She's always the straight up and down baby face. She never did anything wrong. She was a heel to start with. I should reflect that. She was a heel to start with, but once she turned baby face, she was white meat. She was perfect, right? She never put a foot wrong in the eyes of the fans. So it's really intriguing to watch her in the situation between three queen heels. Like, Bison, Kimura, and Aja Kong caused riots in the day. They were that over as bad guys because they were wrestling uphill. They were the young upstarts going up against Bull Nakano and her crew. And if you would like some real violence, you have to go look at those matches because those matches are intense. So because it was fighting for the future of pro wrestling itself, and that was the story that got Aja Kong to the WWA Championship. But this match is still pretty intense, and its quality shines through. The storytelling's fantastic, the moves are great, and you've got three big bruisers going at it with Bison, Aja, and Combat. So it's a really interesting take on how Joshi could have evolved if you had monsters all the time.
yeah. And I also think it was a good decision to put Kong and Toyota on different teams. You have like the mini kaiju battle because you put them on the same squad. And I think that's just unfair to humanity. It really, but that was just smart because it created kind of like a moment, like again, like you said, just a before some movable object type of deal. So anytime that happened, it felt like its own thing. You almost forgot it was a tag match when they kind of came together. So yeah.
Should we move on to the next one, sir?
Yep.
Okay. For some reason, that's on the playlist twice. Megumi Kudo and Ajika. Yeah, we have some playlist twice. I'll take one of them off. I'll do that now. Move from playlist. There we go. That's all right. We don't need two of them on. Let us go, though, to what that match set up. That match set up the final chapter for Combat Toyoda. And this was at the 8th anniversary show, if I remember, the 7th anniversary show. This was in Kawasaki Baseball Stadium. And it's Combat Toyoda's retirement match. And at the request of Combat Toyoda, Megumi Kudo challenges for the WWA and World's Independent Women's Championship in a no-rope exploding double hell death barbed wire match. So this is the first time this match has been put on for the women. Combat Toyoda in her pre-match messages senses this is the ultimate barbed wire. This is the ultimate death match. And she says that she wants it to be like something younger wrestlers can learn from. That's what she says in a pre-match promo. And Kudo says, I have a lot of fears, but it's different to the other fears I've had in death matches because this is just about me and Toyoda, and we want to fight a match that leaves with no regrets, which is a really interesting point to have. Like, they are literally laying everything on the line in a way that no other women wrestlers ever have done before. So this is very much a first. And though there had been exploding barbed wire matches before, Terry Funk and Matsushi Onita probably had the most famous one before this one. I think, having watched all of them of this era, this is the best one. I think this is the best deathmatch ever. I don't think anyone's got close to this since, but mainly because I'm sure deathmatch aficionados and John would tell me off for such things, saying such things. How dare you? Blah, blah. But I genuinely think this is the best deathmatch I ever saw, and other things didn't live up to this because of the fact that they can both wrestle so well, and they are so smooth, and they've wrestled each other that many times, and they've had 10 years of going back and forth with each other in the dojo and in the ring, and they know each other so well. So the story is, how can I preserve Toyoda's legacy and give her the best match possible, and also win the World Championship at the same time, which is a tall task to ask. It's a semi-main event of a massive show with 35,000 people there. And it's pressure. This is purely Joshi pressure. Absolutely Joshi pressure. You've got Atsushi Onita, who retired the year before at ringside. And he's in tears watching this wrestling match. This is the most emotional wrestling match you'll probably ever see. Because it is truly about Toyoda and her legacy. And the start of the match is incredible. It's an incredible visual. There's an incredible light rig runs down. Kudo's theme starts, and she sets off, and they follow her from the camera. And the amazing thing for me is they play Wild Thing for Combat Toyoda. Now, that was Atsushi Onita's theme. When he retired, he gave it to Combat Toyoda. So that piece of music means an awful lot to him and to her. And she comes out and clearly is in tears. This is the last time she will ever wrestle. And it's old school, so there's flashbulbs going off everywhere. This feels like a big fight. And you know it's going to be a big fight. The reverence from the crowd is different. The emotions are different. This isn't like a wrestling angle. This isn't anything that you can make up. This is Dojo Sisters having the most dangerous match possible to say goodbye to each other the best way they know how. And that's insane. And yet beautiful in so many ways. What's your thoughts on this one, Marcus?
I'm kind of glad you said what you said, because I didn't necessarily feel as secure saying what I thought watching this match. Was like, this probably like I said to myself watching, I'm like, this is probably the best death match I had ever seen. But I'm like, technically just broke my death match virginity before this. One match before this. So I don't feel like it was earned, but because of everything.
No, I started you up on the good stuff.
I'm looking at this like, I'm probably like, you're probably not gonna tell a better story than what you got in this match. Because I'm looking at this like, And obviously, coming into this, I was kind of trepidation just because of the whole death match of it all. But I think, and a lot of other iterations why I've seen it before we started this playlist, like it was just something that was kind of got bastardized for the
Mm.
sheer shock and awe of it all. But for this match, like the electric barbed wire is a consequence and an effect of the match. It's not the point of it.
Yes.
The point of it is, like you said, I mean, and you can't really appreciate the match. You don't set it up the way that you did with this playlist, in the early part of her career. This is like the culmination of events between two fated rivals.
Yeah.
You're not gonna, obviously, like I said, it plays a part, but it's both of these women, um, really at their best, trying to not only put on for the rest of the women, but for this promotion, while trying to honor each other, uh, while trying to really go out. I mean, obviously, Combat's trying to go out on top and once again beat Kudo because I would imagine by this point she kind of had the edge in that feud because a
Yeah.
lot of times they went to war, but she just ultimately overpowered her, which was another element in this match to me because by this point Kudo had probably had succumbed to that power so much that it was just like this war of attrition for her where she just kept kicking out.
Mm.
And yeah, it was just like you said, it was I go find not always a better ball wire match, but a better match in general because all the elements are there.
Yeah.
Inside the ring, outside the ring, the way they did the camera work with the entrances, talking to him before, obviously talking to Kudo before we know what was on the line for Combat. But yeah, this was for all the marbles right here, and they delivered. And like I
Yeah.
said, I just appreciated the everything that went along with it because it wasn't overdone. Like I said, they didn't go to the barbed wire too much. It was just an effect of the story being told, a consequence. It wasn't the point. A lot of other situations, something like that would be kind of just overblown. By the time we get to the end of the match, the whole room probably be smoked out because it just did it too much. So
Yeah.
this was beautiful and tragic at the same time because, like you said, these careers didn't go probably as long as they could have. Uh, but man, they did a hell of a job, with the time that they had, and this was really cool to see. Also, in a lot of ways, Kudo elevating her style because I mean she knew she couldn't just traditionally be Combat at this point. She had to wear it down. That's why I'm appreciating her putting her in this sleeper right here at
Yeah.
this point because you have to just go about these things a different way, particularly in these type of matches when it's like that squared circle, particularly in the middle of it, means everything. So because you don't have the outside to depend on, so you really have to come up with a game plan. I appreciated what she did because ultimately, all you can do with Combat is just wear her down. So
Yeah. That's the thing. I think that's the story is like, I've spent 10 years trying to figure you out and I know how to do it now. And it's I can't say enough about this match. You're absolutely right. It's not the barbed wire isn't the point. And one of the things that modern deathmatch wrestling kind of leaves me on is the fact that there's violence for violence's sake, and
yeah,
spots become the point. And it's like, no, that's kind of a misunderstanding of the whole point. And that's not FMW's fault. FMW set the template. What the other companies have done with it since is their business, and that's fine if you like that kind of thing. But equally, it's to me, this is the highest level because the people involved are trying to tell a story that's just in a different environment. They built the environment to enhance what they were doing, but the basic issue is you look at the three big stars of FMW or four: Goto, Anita, Combat Toyoda, and Megumi Kudo, right? They're four of the best baby faces of their era. Like, they are charismatic to a fault, fantastic storytellers. They're not the best technicians of their era in whatever they're doing. Aja Kong's a better wrestler than Combat Toyoda. Manami Toyota and Akira Hokuto are better wrestlers than Megumi Kudo. And I don't mean any disrespect in saying that. Atsushi Onita was a pretty good wrestler, but he wasn't as good as Keiji Muto or Shinya Hashimoto or a bunch of guys. But that didn't matter because they connected with an audience way better than those guys did. And as much as Muto filled the Tokyo Dome, he had the massive machine of New Japan Pro Wrestling behind him, and Onita did it by himself with a small crew, right? You know, the magic of FMW is they put 35,000 people into a baseball stadium with no TV. And not just once or twice, a couple of times a year. That's, you know, and WWE would kill for that now, wouldn't they?
Sure.
You know, in the greater scheme of things, to be able to do the business FMW did in that time period, WWE have problems doing that on a regular basis. They're certainly having problems doing it now. AEW can't do that yet. Give it time, but you know, it's absolutely staggering as far as like their level of cultural zeitgeist that they managed to produce. The stars that they became was just ridiculous. It's intense, and this match kind of like sums everything up about them. You know, is just like resilience, fighting spirit. You know, just raw toughness and power. You watch Toyota just laying in forearms and slaps just to try and get motion against Toyota. It's just so intense.
Yeah, the moments of, you know, trying to Irish whip Toyota and then her body just collapsing on her.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Kudo running into her and combat catching her, and she basically Germaned them into the barbed wire, and it just is absolutely running on fumes at this point. Like I said, I very, very much appreciate that story because by now Toyota would have been up out of there with the victory because she was always able to overpower Kudo. And like I said, like I always worked for Toyota because she just beat you down, and then the power bomb was that whatever wind was left out of you, and that'll be it. But by now, like I said, it's a war of attrition. A body is basically almost honed to that power bomb. So in a lot of ways, just kind of watching Kudo try to overcome this mountain while hitting these same barbed wires with the electrification of it all. And then all of a sudden now you see her dropping Toyota on her head with just got like a sheer drop power bomb on top of what could be waiting with that deadly vertebrae. It's just and to your point, I think also, you know, to that crowd size, it plays very much into the environment. We already know how, you know, they respect the auto pro wrestling and the performers in a lot of ways, and in some way that the Americans just don't care to do for whatever kind of reason. On top of, I think the audience was also aware of, you know, how special this was, the first of its kind, what these women were doing, what this meant for the brand. Obviously, Toyota's last match, there's so many emotional elements played into it. So, you know, in today's time, it's hard to get away with being the first in anything because everything's been done and redone and done to death. So, you know, but it's interesting. You know, you say like WWE will kill for that because, you know, for as much as they pull back the curtain in a lot of ways to kind of bring people in, it's also helped alienate a lot of the audience in a way because they haven't kept up the creativity with the storytelling to keep them there.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. So for, you know, you just got to give it up for FMW for really believing in these women taking it. He really just threw a bucket of water on both of them. Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. It kind of reminds me in a minute what we saw with I think it was Tanahashi when Omega and who was it? Recent Omega and why am I forgetting his name?
Tanahashi's retirement with Okada.
No, not as when he was sitting ringside, he was crying because of the
Oh,
match.
Gabe Kidd and Kenny Omega. Yeah.
Thank you, Gabe Kidd.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, when we were crying for that match, like moments like that, you know, they matter. You know, you can't just ringside crying for no reason. So that this is just a beautiful thing, and obviously, I mean, the winner got to get stretched out. You know, it was a hell of a night. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. This was madness. It really is, but it's such a fantastic match. You should go watch it. You really should. I put a tag match in next to calm things down after that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was like you said, It was not a light night again because Shark and Miss Mongol, yeah, that's another terrible
Yeah.
combination. In the best of ways. Not terrible because they suck, terrible because it's like, yeah, these two women look like they can get up to some trouble.
Oh yes, absolutely. They were going up against Megumi Kudo and Kaori Nakayama. I think it's the first time we've seen Kaori Nakayama, isn't it, in this particular playlist?
Yeah.
She's got some fire to her. This was a nice match because it's telling the story of Shark again and Kudo, which is an on again, off again relationship for the last year of Kudo's reign as world champion. And we've got more to come to discuss. But this match is kind of like a more workaday tag team affair of Mad Dog Military against Hontai. We're at FMW, of course. We're at Kurikan Hall. And it kicks off with the rookies trying to have a crack at one another, which is always a fun way to start a match because it's going to be breakneck speed. And Nakayama and Miss Mongol have a proper go. And I thoroughly enjoyed this match because it's, well, I put it into lighten the mood. But it kind of shows you more the everyday experience of FMW. If you were playing at Kurikan Hall, you'd maybe get one death match in the main event, like a tag match street fight or something along those lines. But you would get actually just good quality wrestling in the rest of the show as well. And you compare this to the first house show matches we saw on the previous playlist, FMW starting to attract a crew, right? It's the same in any wrestling company in Japan. If you have a hot streak, you get better athletes applying to your dojo. If you have better athletes applying to your dojo, you've got a stronger roster. And that's how it works. Okay, one of the weaknesses of Noah recently is because they were kind of on a bit of a down stint. They didn't have a lot of rookies because a lot of them weren't applying to the dojo. Now, there is a bunch of rookies who are fantastic because it's done quite well in recent years, and therefore more visibility means more people want to try out, the bigger your talent pool is. And this was happening in FMW as well in this particular time period. And that's down to the work put in by Combat Toyoda and Ray Tamada and Megumi Kudo. What's your thoughts on this tag match?
Yeah, this was great. I was going to ask you, what was the backstory of Kaori and what was at this stage of a game? Obviously, like you said, it's the rookie of it all because she, most on anything, she very much came off of this match like she had something to prove and she wrestled like it. But she took a lot of punishment in this match, but obviously, you learn about trial by fire. But deviating for 1 second when going back to your point about Noah, like you said, they was a bit on a downtrend. Do you think that's because they was leaning into the more established stars, kind of how like NXT almost became a super indie at one point instead of trying to build, those fresh faces?
Yeah, I think that was generally the issue with Noah. I hate to say it, but our old friend Suzuki-san, when he took over the company, they were trying to make money, and that involved cutting costs and not pouring investment into the crew that they had, and therefore it tended to rely on Marufuji and the old school roster that they had because they were the big names. Whereas now you've got a much bigger mix of you've still got the big names, the old names like Vegeta and Marufuji, and now obviously Kenta. But you've got like people like Oka Sasaki, people like Kiyomiya, who are the stars of the company now, much younger, much more athletic, much more relatable to a younger audience, and therefore you're going to attract a younger crowd. It was an old man's wrestling promotion for quite some time, and when Cyber Agent took it over, they fixed a lot of issues the company had, and that's showing incredible strength now because they use the right old men to put 20,000 in the Tokyo Dome for Keiji Muto's retirement, and they go to Budokan Hall every Christmas and put 14,000 in or 10,000 in there, and they do Sumo Hall on a regular basis and put 5,000 in there, and they couldn't have done that 2 or 3 years ago. They were struggling to fill house shows. So, they are kind of like the jewel in the crown of the Wrestle Universe kind of world as far as making money is concerned. But it's the same as any wrestling company. FMW is kind of the point. If you build it, they will come, and they is your next round of stars. and you are going to pick, as Kudo and Combat Toyoda found out, you're going to pick the very, very best from a very elite crew. So it's the deeper the pool you have, the better your fit is for you in the long run. So it's an ever fulfilling prophecy. If you keep the pressure up, you're trying to balance it all between steady growth and trying not to do everything all at once. Now, FMW was obviously a classic example of doing everything all at once for about 10 years, and then they went broke. But equally, Noah have done an awful lot better job of just having that down period that they had, and then steadily building themselves back to being an arena-filling wrestling promotion, which they weren't for 3 or 4 years. And it was a toss-up between them and AJPW who was going to survive, to be honest with you. So, yeah. But yeah. Shall we move on to the next match, or have you got anything else you'd like to say about this one?
Oh no, this was just good. And like you said, I think ultimately was a great showcase for Nakayama and Mongol. So I don't exactly know whether they, obviously we'll see him again, but I don't know exactly in terms of levels, like how far they were behind, like you said, the big four by the time they got to their prime years.
Yeah. To give you an idea, Nakayama ended up being a wrestler that kind of floated around Joshi for the next 5 or 6 years, even though they were kind of like placing her to be the replacement for Kudo, more or less. But the FMW story doesn't end well for the women. But we'll get to that when we get to the end. But yeah, it was a shame, really, because clearly she had something about her, even at this early stage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let us move on to the next match. I always surprise myself because I can never remember what I put onto it. Oh, yeah. This one. Lordy. So, Kudo is kind of stuck after Combat Toyoda retires because you need a big bad, right? You need the badass to come and challenge you because you're now the baddest in the room because she was the woman that beat Combat Toyoda in an exploding barbed wire match. So you go find the baddest to come to you, or the baddest come and find you, because, they do. And who's badder than Shinobi Kandori? There ain't no one badder than Shinobi Kandori. No one. And so they started a feud in LLPW that found its way back to FMW in Kudo's wheelhouse. No rope barbed wire versus the former bronze medalist Olympic judo player. And Kandori turns up in a pair of shades and a mafia suit. Like she's running the Yakuza, because she is. and she is, you honestly would think she was built for this environment. She is so confident. And it is terrifying. Like, Kudo's done this before. She's chill. She's okay. She knows what she's doing. And I'm not sure if it's nervous energy on Kandori's part, because obviously we saw that insane match with Akira Hokuto, so we know that she can go where she needs to go. But can she go where Kudo will take her? That's the story here. And the thing is, whoa, they go to some dark places in this match. What's your thoughts on Marcus?
Yeah, Shinobu came off here like a person the boss sends in when all his henchmen mess up, going after the initial target. Yeah. It's that's what this was. And this was a great test for her too, because like you said, combat was like just her consistent ultimate challenge that she finally overcame. But this came off like something else. So I thought this was a great transition from combat to here, because it continued to test her and kind of pushed her well beyond them, to the point where she didn't even. It really kind of brought out another side of it, because she by the end of it, it felt like it just had kicked up another level of aggression. Like you said, she was kind of a constant babyface at that point. But Shinobu going like, I don't need to throw you into the barbed wire umpteen times. I'll just take some barbed wire from the rope, wrap it around my hand, and bring it to you.
Yeah. The opposite. Obviously, you want to land on the loosest, most spread out version of the barbed wire, not have the shortest parts of the barbed wire stuffed in your face. which
Yeah.
was Kandori's plan. Which, let's face it, as plans go, was pretty smart. But yeah, this is just Kandori's just amazing in this match because it's not her wheelhouse. It's not the thing she's done. She's not known for like being a brawler. She's a shooter, right? That's the thing. I mean, she did make a name in that match with Hokuto, but she's a shoot style wrestler. So this is not her thing at all. But she is one of the pro wrestlers in the wrestling world who just doesn't care. Give her the environment, she'll make the match work. She's still going now. She's like in the late 50s. She don't care. She's still having wrestling matches now. She will make a match work with anyone. Because she's got such presence and such timing. And as a heel in this situation, going into FMW as one of the top stars of LLPW, she's going to be a heel, right? She gets it. That's why she's wearing that Yakuza suit. And I have a feeling that some of the women in that audience had feelings that they perhaps didn't know they had wearing her in that Yakuza suit, to be honest with you. Because, whoa, she looked amazing. And I think it's another kind of case of Kudo's ability to make a match with anyone work really, really well. Like, obviously, she's got someone who can go on a technical level with her, so that makes life easier, right? So now it's how inventive can we be in avoiding this bad way? Well, actually, we can be really inventive because we've got loads of stuff we can do that's going to keep everybody entertained before eventually someone inevitably will land in the barbed wire. Because what's the point in having it there? It'd be really cool if they had a death match and like no one got left out with a scratch. That would be ace.
Yeah.
But the crowd's like, oh.
But this was great. I mean, like I said, I love what Kandori pushed her to. Because like I said, all these matches she could pretty much clear with the vertebrae by the time she hits it. But she's like, nah, I need a little extra stank on this one, so I'm gonna follow up the vertebrae with a running forearm smash to kind of put the exclamation point on it. So that I very much appreciated that.
It's also like it's reminiscent of the match with Hokuto because obviously Hokuto wins by pinning Kandori after the double punch, right, and the double knockout. And she just kind of like climbs on top of Kandori and pins her. I mean, it's kind of like a throwback to that in the sense of it kind of tells the story. Kandori's actually got a weak chin, which it's no fun if you're invincible, right? There's no if you're always perfect, it's no fun to watch. So, Kandori having a weak chin is a really interesting like story point. Like we said about Akira Hokuto having, a bad arm, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. It's the Kandori's weakness is her chin. So, and Kudo's best strike is her forearm. And that's what wins the match for her. She actually didn't need the barbed wire. She didn't need the violence. She just needed the right forearm in the right place, which is an interesting morality tale in itself. Isn't it? It's like, you don't actually need this. You didn't need to take her all of these risks. You didn't need to do this kind of match. You could have just beat her in the right circumstances anyway. And that's really interesting to me too. I think that's another thing that's kind of like missed in modern day deathmatch wrestling. Matches have to end on a big spot because the crowd expect it. It's like, why? Forearm's good enough. Here, this is one of the best death matches you'll ever see. I don't mean to drag on modern day deathmatch wrestling, and John's going to send me a testy email. But it's just my personal taste. But there you go.
Yeah, when you make your identity up in the answer, you can't really dial it back. It kind of we always talk about how it creates such quality by doing less is more, but when the thing is kind of like more is more, which I always criticize WWE for being in that way. Kind of you condition your audience to that, so that's what they expect. And it kind of something we ragged on for a long period of time with like classic Ring of Honor. Well, it's like you went one spot too many for the finish. If we're gonna do a destroy you through 2 tables, I don't need a kick out from that. I don't.
No. Yeah. If you've like literally destroyed the guy, then just pin him. It'll be fine. I mean, there was that stuff in FMW as well. My favorite, and I've told this story so many times, but my hilarious favorite of the greatest, right, just lay down moment was Tiger Jeet Singh versus Atsushi Onita in a no rope cage barbed wire match, exploding barbed wire match. And Anita throws Tiger Singh into the barbed wire. It explodes. He DDTs him and he power bombs him. Ganzo powerbomb right in the back of his head. And then Tiger Singh kicks out on 3. It's like, lay there, don't move. We're good. It's okay. Like, no one thinks badly of you if you got struck with that lot and then didn't kick out. You'll be okay. You're fine. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, that's the thing. But it is like that was more Tiger Singh politics than anything else. But this match is actually really simple. It's just a wrestling match with some bells and whistles. But the bells and whistles in the end don't actually matter. That's not the point. The point is, how tough are you? You ain't Megumi Kudo tough, are you? And that's where we're at. And interestingly, Kandori shakes hands and becomes a babyface in FMW for the next 6 months.
Yeah, and kudos to her smart move, because I would imagine that the Yakuza suit not only aided with the attitude she had coming in, man, like you said, she's more technical. And this match was far more aggressive than that, so I would imagine that just the whole aura that comes with that Yakuza of it all, energy, very much aided in that. But also, very smart to make yourself fully clothed for a barbed wire match.
Yes.
It's smart.
Once again, going with the singlet and asymmetric tights, which is her trademark at this point. But that's awfully thin.
Exactly.
Yes. And the smile on her face when she picks up the ream of barbed wire as well is just, chef's kiss, beautiful. But let us move on, for we have more monsters to talk about. So having banished one monster, you've got to pick another one. Well, the next one is Mayumi Ozaki, the baddest of all badasses. Still rocking and rolling Oz Academy some 30 years later, still the biggest heel in pro wrestling some 30 years later. Back then, she was JWP's queen heel. She had a tag team with Dynamite Kansai that was arguably one of the best, if not the best, women's tag teams of all time. And when she was done with that, she turned heel on the roster, became part of Oz Academy in Gaia. And this was a match that is really a bit, well, Oz Academy was the heel unit she ran in JWP, and then took to Gaia with her. And is now Oz Academy the company, where she is lead of the Hontai group, who are of course heels. Because of course they are. I'm sure this is a JWP. No, it's a Gaia show. No, it is a JWP show, yeah. So Ozaki and Kudo are tagging up with their young charges, Ri and Reiki Amano. Reiki Amano is absolutely violent. Back in the day when she was a member of Oz Academy, she was vile, and ended up being a barefoot wrestler. Because she wrestled like a very mixed martial arts style, and a bit of a comedy wrestler. But at this particular point in her career, she was aligned with Mayumi Ozaki, and Ozaki had certain standards, and those standards were low when it came to obedience. So the rules kind of went out the window in this match. We're at Kurikan Hall again. It's a street fight. We're fully dressed this time. No wrestling gear. We've got chains. We've got tables. We've got Singapore canes and baseball bats. It's go time when it comes to Team FMW versus Team Oz Academy. And this is brutal in all of the best ways possible, and goes on for a very, very, very long time because they really didn't like each other.
Yeah.
What did you think of this one, Marcus? Because this is kind of on the edge of sickeningly violent, because of the people involved. Ozaki doesn't care. Amana's trying to make a name for herself. Ri is also trying to make a name for herself. So yeah, this is brutal. What did you think of this match?
I just appreciated the chaos, because you're into the heaviness of this match, and shout out to Kudo. Just Megumi is just so great. Like, even in the midst of a street fight, she's doing like a bridging suplex into a thing of chairs and stuff of that nature. Ultimately, it's just, it aids in like catching them in the bridge, just aids in potentially getting the win. But yeah, this was all over the place. Not, I like the chaos, because in a lot of these tag matches, it felt like a lot of times chaos with a ref was just there to kind of just manage the fallout. But yeah, this was like kind of all over the place in a good way. And then because thankfully you did set up a playlist like this, where it'd be something like almost ends the worldish, and then you'll have like a tag match to dial it back, or a singles match, which versus Shinobu. It was tough, but it wasn't like I could keep up with it.
Yeah,
Well, this was very much the crowd got a lot of got their money's worth with this
absolutely. Of course, because it's Kudo and Ray are both from FMW, they're the heels. And Kudo is having the time of her life, pissing everybody off. She loves it. And, I think Ray, who's like the absolute babiest of all babyface rookies as well, is having a wonderful time beating the snot out of Carla Samano. Because, I'm almost guaranteed she probably not had to like put some offense in for quite some time. But yeah, this match it's a blast. It's just big dumb wrestling match, isn't it? And we say this, this is kind of like the prototype for a big dumb wrestling match. Just we're going to wail at each other with chairs until we just can't stand up anymore.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, it's just like I'm not keen on the unprotected headshots, but I understand rookies trying to make a name for themselves and doing the things they perhaps shouldn't do. But please, I'm glad she stopped doing that. That's not smart. But yeah, it's also like, Kudo's got a rib tape caged up from that match with Kandori because, she's still like, scarred up from taking the barbed wire to the ribs. It's just so of its time, shall we say. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. We will return to the subject of Ozaki shortly, but we have another match to talk about. And we're back with Shark Tashir again. Like we said, at the end of her career, she was her main rival. And this is for the WWA and Independent Women's Championship. Now, Shark needed an edge. She felt she couldn't beat Kudo one-on-one. So she gets the managerial services of one Victor Quinez from World Wrestling Council in Puerto Rico. Soon to be of the IWA Puerto Rico and IWA in Japan. And Victor comes to give Kudo the edge as far as advice is concerned, but ultimately, as many managers to do, perhaps not in the most ethical of ways. And as a result of that, Kudo loses the championship. This match is actually probably closer to a regular wrestling match than anything else on this particular show. You've got a bad guy, you've got a good guy, you've got a champion that's wronged, and this match really kind of sets the tone for the final match on this particular playlist. But it's intriguing to me that the way this plays out, because Shark ends up taking both titles in this match, and she demolishes Kudo. And I mean that in a stretcher job, like in the traditional sense of the word. She lifts her on a 3 count twice before finally pinning her, and just to show the dominance she has over Kudo, and then grabs the house mic afterwards and yells that she's finished, she's done for, get rid of her, which sets your tone, because you need a comeback after that, don't you, Marcus?
Yeah, I did not see this coming, but you can't. These make up some of the great elements of a story when you properly, have somebody, do a comeback, which you would imagine Kudo does, because that's really been the story of her career. And a lot of matches, she extremely competitive, but sometimes she plays the comeback kid, if you will. I think that's where she thrives at. But here, it was just devastation. Like there's been times where she's obviously not been able to lead a ring on her own power, but even that was coming off of a win. Here, it was like it almost got so like she, like got usurped by somebody who she couldn't, like her time was up. But as things go, that fighting spirit, they go down, but it don't stay down. So.
Absolutely not. This match is pretty intense. As we said, Shark is not a great technical wrestler. She doesn't need to be. She's badass, and she just stands there and she looks terrifying. And it's FMW, so the rules are lax, to say the least, when it comes to outside interference and weapons. And they have a regular wrestling match, which, to be honest, ECW fans would not object to anything in this match. It would have been fine for them. And it's kind of that level of wrestling match. If you're looking for an equivalent, I would say probably Sandman and Raven. It's probably, but with the roles match. Sandman being Shark and Raven being Kudo from a technical wrestling point of view. It's that kind of style of match. It's a bit rough and ready. It's a bit rough around the edges, but it didn't matter because they could draw. That's the big difference. And the big thing I want to stress about FMW is Shark was a great heel and Kudo was a great babyface. You know, that's the key element. It's a tradition of professional wrestling that can't be overlooked in the sense of it's so basic. It's literally the most basic thing about pro wrestling in this particular match is that Kudo is a never say die babyface and Shark is a heel that will win any way they can. And that's perfect. And they're just perfect for each other in this particular time capsule. And they're selling out. And this is a big haul and they're doing well. And FMW is kind of like, they are the stars now because Onita's gone, Toyoda's gone. Kudo and Shark are the biggest two draws in the company. Hayabusa's on his way up. Ganisuke's gone off to IWA, and Tarzan Goto's gone off to IWA. This is the same year as the King of Deathmatches tournament in IWA at Kawasaki Baseball Stadium that Cactus Jack won, Mick Foley. Another name that we're talking about more this week. So, like, they're swinging for the fences, but they're also, like, they're in charge now. This is it. This is FMW at its absolute best. We've still not got the next generation coming up. And Kudo is kind of getting to the end of her career, and this is her final run. So they're trying to set it up for the next generation, which doesn't really happen, as we said. You know, we'll talk about that after that match. But at this particular point, they're the big names in the company because there's no one else left.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of had to show up and show out because, you know, all the names that left kind of made their mark and pushed the ball forward, and you kind of have to do the same. And, you know, like you said, with the advent of Ball getting introduced to the women, I think it just became a catalyst for that next generation, kind of, like I said, move that ball forward, which they very much did in this next match. Kind of took things up one level with the ball concept.
Yeah. So the next match is Mayumi Izaki versus Megumi Kudo. We are back in FMW, so it's FMW rules, and they decide that the rules will be a barbed wire board match. So this time, instead of having all four sides replacing the barbed wire, you have two sides replacing the barbed wire, rope with the barbed wire, and then you have barbed wire boards on the open sides. So if you fall out the ring on the open sides, there are boards there for you to land on, but they're covered in barbed wire. So they break your fall, but they do horrible things to your back. This is a street fight rule, so they're in jeans and t-shirts and gloves because that's a more sensible way of approaching this particular wrestling match.
Exactly.
But you also have two absolute lunatics who are willing to do anything to make this match work, and the joy they bring to everyone in the process of slicing and dicing themselves is absolutely ridiculous. This is intense because Ozaki is a street fighter, but she's a purely trained classical wrestler, as is Kudo. So that it's very much like versus like. The fact that Kudo takes off a t-shirt to reveal a crop top underneath and is going to wrestle in that is also slightly mad. I absolutely want to bare my arms to this barbed wire. But yeah, this match is actually fairly ridiculous. It's really, really good and sets the tone for Izaki for the next 30 years next year. Because this is the kind of match she excels in from now on. She's a street fighter. She really rays into it. She puts on weight to take bigger bumps. Not massive bumps, but she's been taking bumps for a long time and doesn't really slow down, even in her old age. But this kind of wrestling is what becomes her hallmark, and this match kind of changes her career because she's so good at selling for it. She's such a good heel, such a good cowardly heel that doesn't want to get hurt, even though she's found herself in this predicament. It's so good. And obviously, Kudo is showing off all of her experience of avoiding the danger wherever possible because she's just really good at these matches now. She knows the insides
Yeah.
out and avoids everything at all costs and can make sure, like the Irish whip into the ropes, she reverses it at just the right time. She manages to get Ozaki into the ropes and uses it to like make life very uncomfortable for her. And that's the point of this match. The bumps are spectacular because you've got two premier bumpers of their particular generation. The match isn't that stiff given the environment that they're in because they can both wrestle and therefore don't need to take as many bumps as we talked about. But Kudo is actually vicious because she doesn't like Ozaki. It's like rubbing a chain in her face, rubs her face in the barbed wire. This is right. Shark's beaten me. I have to prove I'm the baddest in town again. And what better way in doing it than take out the badass that is Mayumi Ozaki? What's your thoughts on this one, Marcus?
No, I mean, just everything you said, you really just laid it all out 100% in agreement. Um, like I said, Kudo at this point is used to this, but it did feel like Mayumi um, was home
Yeah.
with that concept, and at points it was hard to tell them apart.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, if I didn't know any better, I would feel like, two of these two women had beef going back as long as women had with combat, where they were
Yeah.
going at it. But that's like you said, Ozaki is a fighter, and at this point, Kudo has been in this scenario so many times. You know, elevating her aggression to match it, was nothing for her. So it just really came down to who wanted it more. And I think, like I said, Kudo was just too battle tested and closed it out again with that devastating vertebrae.
Yeah. It's absolutely just perfect.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's also as well like
maybe my second favorite match on this show. Yeah.
yeah, I think so as well. And it's just like it's the cleverness of Ozaki. Like she's a wrestling genius. Her wrestling IQ is through the roof. She wouldn't have run her own promotion for 30 years and made a living doing it if she wasn't. She has as a booker, she's exceptional. As a storyteller and as a wrestler, she's exceptional as well. And they just manage to have like this language of violence between them that makes them exceptionally compelling to watch. And it's dog collar chains and everything that Ozaki brings to the ring is there for a reason, and she will use it in the most violent way she can dream up. And unfortunately for you, she has like the most active wrestling mind of anyone of her generation. So she knows many different ways to theatrically dispose of you. And that's what makes this match so fascinating for me from a storytelling point of view, because she's every bit the storyteller Kudo is, and embraces the environment in a heelish way. Don't get me wrong. She obviously doesn't like it when she's on the losing end, but equally her ability to cause tension and create misery for Megumi Kudo is exceptional.
Same. Exactly.
Yeah. That match put Kudo back into contendership for the WWA and Independent Women's Championship. And what really put it over the edge was announcing her retirement at the anniversary show on the 21st of March, 1997. Now, the anniversary show that year was not held in Kawasaki Baseball Stadium because they were refitting it. This was held at Yokohama Arena. 14,000 people in attendance to see Megumi Kudo's retirement match. This was the biggest crowd headlined by a woman's match on a mixed-gendered card show until WrestleMania 33, I want to say. We just had 33. No, I can't remember. No, that was G1 Climax. The Best of Super Juniors 33. The one with Becky, Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte Flair on it. That one, whichever WrestleMania that one is. 2018, I want to say. That card was the first mixed gender card that outdrew this one, and it took 20 years. And this match is absolutely, well, I mean, this match we've got on here is the, I've got the wrong one. Have I doubled this one up again? Yeah, that's the title match. I've gone in the wrong direction. Sorry. We're watching this to just keep our eyes on things whilst we're doing it. So this match is for both World Championships. It's Yokohama Arena. It's full. Like I said, it's the biggest mixed gender card headlined by women at the time. And it's no rope, exploding barbed wire again. And Shark obviously has improved an awful lot in the time period she's been champion. But she has to take it to Kudo, who has just been through a war with Mayumi Izaki, who's got her game back together and looks ridiculously determined to go out on an absolute high. And she does. This heel run for Shark was ridiculous. She became one of the big stars of the company. In one of the, I was trying to find the match, but I can't find it on YouTube anymore. There is one match where Shark attacks Megumi Kudo after the bell and sets fire to her with a fireball.
Oh, wow.
And it's one of the best pictures you've ever seen in wrestling. But this match is just phenomenal. Because again, it's Kudo wrestling herself. I'm not knocking Shark; she's great in this match. But she doesn't need to be there. It could be anyone in one sense. I mean, they were the draw, right? Obviously, but the story told the draw. But the actual match itself, Kudo's wrestling her legacy and putting it all on the line in one last shot before she retires. And this is just phenomenal. And what a way to end your 10-year, 11-year career by going out on top against a young wrestler and making her, even in her loss. This is fantastic. What do you think of this one, Marcus?
No, this is how it's supposed to be done. She, was last with race combat. Now she's on the opposite end of that against somebody who can very much match her, like you said. The concept about this time had she very much associated herself with for the brand. So, kind of going for all the marbles with the power bomb. He took a power bomb into the ball wire cardboard at the end. But there's also double landmine apparently. So yeah, this was talk about going out with a literal bang. Bang.
Yeah, no rope, no exploding, but no rope, electrified barbed wire, exploding double hell death match. Yeah, this is by far this is the toughest of the wrestling matches. The only thing they didn't add was the time bomb. They used to do a time bomb match, which I'm guessing they couldn't do because this was indoors. You kind of need it to be an outdoor place for a big explosion to go off, obviously. But yeah, this is ridiculously good for what it is. And it's a stiff old wrestling match in the middle of the ring as well. The match with Ozaki is probably the stiffest match you see, even with the barbed wire and stuff. But Shark and Kudo are really going at it, and they're going after it because they want to make this the best match possible for Kudo's retirement. But the peril, that's the main thing, right? Is the peril. Every side offers a new way to hurt you. And both of them have such an ability to create drama in that sense. Is just, I used to get it's the same thing as a battle royal, yeah? The going over the top rope will get you eliminated. Well, yeah, this is essentially the same philosophy, except you'll get blown up. So that just makes this card ridiculous in one sense, but equally you're completely bought into it that this is actually a sporting event and this actually matters an incredible amount to everybody in that building, because it does. And they truly believe in Megumi Kudo and they want to see her banish Shark Shishir before she retires. She made them all believe. And as a pro wrestler, there's no higher accolade, is there? I don't think there is.
Absolutely not, man. Yep.
Carry on. You was going to say, sorry.
Yeah, just and even more enhanced by that first match because she left in a heap.
Yeah.
Shark left in a heap, and the way this match went out. It's like they both went to the barbed wire. Like a fantastic finish. Both went to the barbed wire, and then Megumi made her only got that win because she was the one that was on top when they fell.
Yeah.
You know, so it's literally like a photo finish in all ways. So it's really great. And like you said, like I call it a successful loss. Shark, who
Yes.
obviously still has, after this could have easily came back and got the titles back and all that stuff. But yeah, this was about Megumi, and she pulled out all the stops in this one. So
Yes.
proved out more than proved how tough she is with that spot. She that insane power bomb she took, and still managed to get the win.
Yes, absolutely. So with her retirement, and after the match, she's kind of stretchered to the back, and she gives the belts to the rookies, Nakayami and Saito, and tries and tells them to carry on the company forward, but they don't really get a chance. And this match kind of becomes the end of an era. Mad Dog Military kind of take over the women's division for a bit, and then it kind of all peters out, and the WEW era comes next, which is essentially FMW trying to tone itself down so it can become a more acceptable mainstream promotion, which never really occurs. And then eventually in 2000, the company closes. And it's a sad end, especially for the women's division, because the women of FMW and the hardcore queens of FMW were so important to the company and so important to a generation of women's wrestlers. We obviously talk about like Aja Kong and Minami Toyota and those people who were massively influential on women's wrestling today. But equally,
Yeah,
Megumi Kudo was the perfect girl next door. She wrestled in death matches, but she also did bikini shoots for photo books. She was a gravure model. She was an incredible commentator. She has got an incredible presence in the ring. And even now, as a retiree, she is currently the president of Pro Wrestling 01, and was given that position because of her, her fame within the pro wrestling industry, and because of her just presence and ability to cut promos and work as a forward-facing person in the company. Now, her personal life, she ended up marrying Bad Boy Hito, a deathmatch wrestler from IWA, which she was a colleague of for a fair while in FMW. Sadly, Bad Boy Hito passed away a couple of years ago, so she's a widow now, even before she reached 60, which is sad for her. However, the love of the wrestling fans for Megumi Kudo enabled her to be put into the Hardcore Hall of Fame this year by the promotions on the East Coast, and much deserved given the matches that we have seen. So, Marcus, you've had a long ride with Megumi Kudo. What do you think about her career, and what's your opinion on her legacy?
absolute legend in women's wrestling in general. And I'd probably mark as probably one of the toughest women to ever do it. Uh, really somebody that you could look to, and like you said, that consummate baby face, being able to fight from under, and give as good as she got, and like just the standard that she set in FMW, like you said, coming from where she came from, where it's like a lot of big dogs in that pond. And she came over to FMW, made herself a big dog, um, in that regard, and elevated with her other three top stars. Really made some rivalries and moments, and particularly in these hardcore environments, these ball wild matches that you just won't forget. It's a snapshot in time, very much a sign of the time. And like I said, probably could have had a more extensive career, but what she packed into the short of it, most people don't even get to do in 10 years in a lot of ways
No.
sometimes. So, she really is a standard, and we do stuff like this, so their names aren't forgotten, the loss of the ethos of it all, because there's a lot of great women, particularly throughout the Japanese segment of things, and she's certainly one of them. So and remain, like you said, even with everything she went through, and just the sheer amount of hell she put herself through these ball wild matches. Also, to me, is one of the most striking women to be
Mm.
in that segment as well. So just an absolute legend all around, man. It's just she made me appreciate this ball wild deathmatch contest. So shout out to, like you said, John. Uh, I'm sure we'll get a kick out of this, but yeah, it's even in those situations, you could properly tell a story with the right elements, certainly the right performance, and they can all just blend together well.
Yeah, this is it. She is the ultimate girl next door wrestler, right? She's the perfect baby face. Always had perfect hair. That's the thing. Is like me and Chelsea when we reviewed her match back in the early days of the Trooping Show. It's like she always has perfect hair. Starts the match with perfect hair. Kind of runs her hands through it, despite like to get the blood out of her eyes, and then she's got perfect hair again. It's ridiculous. But here we are. She is absolutely a megastar, and her wrestling career stands in good stead from the point of view of never give up. Don't lose your dreams. Maybe some crazy guys have got this concept for a wrestling company that comes along and makes them for you. So there we are. So that was the life and times of Megumi Kudo. If you have any suggestions for future life and times, though me and Marcus are picking some strong candidates of late, please let us know. Marcus, where can we find you on the internet, sir?
Yes, on Twitter as usual at Paradox Kid. That's PARADOXKID. Always down with that.
There you go. You can find me at Sheriff Lone Star on Twitter, Blue Sky and Mastodon, and Sheriff Lone Star TX on Instagram. You can find the show, Trooping Show, on Blue Sky, on Twitter, and on Instagram. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.